If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brand John never wants to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
You know, John, I try to practice what I preach. And you know what that means?
Yeah, using AI for everything, even with shoddy results.
No. It drives me nuts when I hear talk show hosts who say, hey, coming up right now, we've got Jim Smith. Jim Smith is a congressman from Chicago. And Jim Smith, matter of fact, Jim Smith and I go way back. I remember we had dinner. Let Jim Smith get on the air and say, hi, host, how are you doing? So I always try to get John on from the very get-go. How's that, John?
You do a great job with that, Brad. You always do, and you do a great job of saying the date, what day it is, because most folks listen to this at some point in the future.
It is August 12th, 2025. This is the A Block. Now, John, if you will give me just a little bit of leeway this morning, I have two things I want to bring up before I get into your top three, and I promise this will be...
we don't need no stinking leeway.
This will be 60 seconds or less. I have started teaching things online. And I have a new course that I'm launching officially this morning. It's a diet course, and you can learn how to lose weight like I do. And when I tell you that I've lost this weight, and some people go, there's no way in hell you lost weight eating fast food. All I ask you is go to fastfoodme.com, fastfoodme.com. That has spurred the Fast Food Me diet. If you want to see how I lost almost 40 pounds in like 90 days, and I really didn't push it at all. I've lost weight quicker than that. You can go to fastfoodme.com where I show you every single day where I ate. I drive through the drive-thru or eat inside, whatever. Every single day for 90 days, all I ate was fast food, and I lost almost 40 pounds. Now, the diet is at fastfoodmediet.com, and there's a charge for it. I think a very nominal charge, $77 for the course. Fastfoodmediet.com, so check it out. Second thing, yesterday, and you just made reference to it, Kris Cook. And John, you will be happy to know I have official permission from Kris Cook to talk about this morning.
Great. That's fantastic. What's new with Kris?
He texted me after the show this morning, and he says... he didn't listen live, but he listened. By the way, our stream is screwed up this morning, so it may or may not be working. Anyway, he sent me this at 8:49 yesterday morning. I know I'm listening a few hours late, but the Bogart movie is Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Great movie. I mentioned that badges, we don't need no stinking badges. You said that was from was it Blazing Saddles?
Blazing Saddles, and it was actually, as you taught me yesterday, Brad, it was an homage to Humphrey Bogart.
Yes.
You know, Kris is the kind of guy that would know that. Like he's a, what's the word I want to say here? Very culturally attuned, I guess you would say. Like a lot of, I'm scrambling for the word here.
Well,
but I would expect Kris to know like a classic movie like Humphrey Bogart.
But see, the difference between Kris Cook and John Combest is if I said, hey, Kris Cook, this is a great movie, you should watch it, he'd say, you know what, Brad, I'm going to check that out. But if I said that to John, he'd go, not going to watch it. Never going to do it.
That's true. If Kris told me that something was a good movie, I would know that it was probably a decent investment of time.
Okay, so John, remove your headphones just for a second, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm going to play it. I played at the beginning. I'm play it again. Here we go.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
You know, the interesting thing about that is that today that movie would never be made because of the characterizations of the Mexicans are just over the top. It's just...
Yeah, Lord knows that people from different geographic regions don't speak in unique accents.
Right.
Now, Brad, if we could go back to number one just briefly.
Okay.
You've run fastfoodme.com and Little McDebbie for going on probably half a decade, right?
No. You
have. Yes, you have. Go ahead.
No, not a half a decade. I think the fastfoodme.com was 2021 or 2022.
And then Little McDebbie was when?
That was afterwards, which I never completed because of the fact
you didn't finish that, Brad?
I never did. John, does that surprise you?
Did you do 29 days of it like you did Brad'sTop3.com?
No, I'm Top3.com still going.
Oh, Oh, it is?
Yeah. Yeah, it's there.
Nope. The website still exists. We're on a 1 week. You took a little 1 week hiatus, right, Brad?
No. It's there. It's there.
Yep, the last day updated was August 5th.
No, it's there, John. It's there.
It is
there.
definitely there, Brad. Way
It's
to
there.
go.
It's there. Okay, fastfoodmeatdiet.com. If you want to see, and this is a little confusing because I've already tested with some people, and they go, okay, explain me the difference. The diet I was on was fastfoodme.com because I got so sick and tired of people saying, there's no way in the world you can lose weight eating fast food. So I documented it every single day, took videos of where I went to eat, showed you what I was eating. There's a chart on there that shows you my weight loss, the whole bit, and I played around with that for a long time, and I've had so many people say, there's no way. So I go, okay, here's the diet. And you know what? It's interesting. It's 10 chapters long, and there's 48 different lessons. This is not just some little crappy thing that I threw together. And quite honestly, I think that the $77 you pay for that would be less than one injection of Ozempic. Isn't Ozempic super expensive, John? Isn't it like...
or Wegovy. That stuff is super expensive. Now, Brad, did you write any of this yourself, or did you, like, after you put it through AI, did you review any of it, or did you just assume it was okay and just ran with it?
John, it's almost written totally by me. I know you're not going to believe that, but it's almost totally written by me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And once again, what's the old saying? It ain't bragging if you've done it. I've done this numerous times. And the crazy thing about it is when I get off my diet and I start eating quote unquote regular food, I gain weight. But if I go back to eating nothing but fast food, I will, and depending upon how aggressive I want to get, I will either stay where I'm at or I'll lose weight. And I have people, every single time I have somebody say, well, I go to Whole Foods. And I say to them, I look in the eye and I go, you know what? If you'd pay me enough, I go on the whole food diet and I will blow out of the water your crazy, stupid whole food idea because I could gain 30 pounds in a month at Whole Foods. And they go, no, you can't. It's all about basic thermodynamics.
And
Calories
what's that, Brad? You've discussed it many times on the show, but for people who haven't heard your theory about this, what does it have to do with calories consumed versus calories expended?
It's not a theory, John. It's the way it works. I give the gas tank. If you go to the gas station and you fill your tank up and you top it off to the point where you shouldn't, but you got that filler neck filled, and you get in your car and you drive around the block and you try to put in 5 more gallons, you can. But your stomach, because the gas tank in your car has a fixed volume, your stomach does not. That is the difference right there.
It is, and there's a fixed volume of time in A block, but not a fixed volume of stories on my website today, Brad. That leads us nicely into John's top 3.
It does, and we bring John's top 3 in with this guy.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And he starts off with...
In third place...
Hello, this is the Amazon support. Were you just talking about foreign accents, Bradley?
I was, John.
I know your name is not Bradley, but it says here on my paper, Americans like to be called Bradley. Brad, finally, an attorney general is taking a step to crack down on robocalls. If you think that we hear this every year, I think you're right, Brad. We probably hear this a couple times a year. This story, though, about Andrew Bailey joining Operation Robocall Roundup, a 50-state effort, sounds like this one might actually have some teeth, as opposed to all those other stories we hear about some sort of no-call registry that nobody pays attention to. And for this story, Brad, I know you have a lot of experience with the FCC, and I think I'll need your experience with this. So Andrew Bailey has announced, and you can find these stories on my website today, that his office has joined with every other state in partnering with the FCC on something that looks like there might actually be actions against these voice service providers. Now, Bram, I'm not an expert on this, so this is where I need your help. It appears as though voice service providers are the ones who get a contract from, say, some boiler room in Kolkata of Indians making scammer calls. They partner with a voice service provider, and then those calls are routed through a major carrier like AT&T or T-Mobile. Do I read that right so far?
Yes, but this will never work, John. I'll tell you right now, it'll never going to work.
Yeah, well, so let me add one preface here, and then I'm interested in your opinion of why this wouldn't work. So this press release, and I'm guessing every attorney general throughout the country put out pretty much the same statement, lists the whole list of voice service providers that are getting this warning letter from the FCC. And apparently there's like a white list called the robocall mitigation database. And once you're off that white list, I guess major telecom companies like the T-Mobiles and AT&Ts of the world are supposed to block you, or you will not be able to use their network. Now, Brad, explain to me in your experience or from what you know of why that won't work.
Well, because of the fact that they're going to, they're all offshore. Because of the fact it's like I told you the story that this guy who was on Brian Kilmeade's show one day, who's invented this thing. I can't remember what it's called, but if you like you're choking, it does like the Heimlich maneuver, but it's much more efficient.
Okay.
And he gave the example of how American products, and his is American design, American made, the whole bit, and how it's already been knocked off by the Chinese. And the reason is you can't go after them because there's no Brown and Crouppen that's going to go to China to sue anybody, because if you do, they're not going to pay attention to you because the government's in cahoots with all the manufacturers. Same thing here.
It would be somewhat, sorry to interrupt, Brad, but it would be somewhat like when you try to shut down offshore gambling. You can't go to Barbados and tell them to quit because you have no jurisdiction.
John, they're using the internet. That's how the whole thing works. And it's all IP calls and all AI voices. So if it comes from Mexico or Guatemala or Shanghai, China, it's still going to work. And there's no way, because here's the interesting thing. I've got a T-Mobile phone, okay? I get probably maybe 20 or 30 of these a day, and it's to the point where when my phone rings, it says right on it, scam likely. They already know it, but they could
and that was and I happen to have T-Mobile as well, Brad. Now, I will say in the last few months, I don't get, maybe I get 1 or 2 scam calls a day, and I used to get 20 or 30.
John, I still get 20 or 30. And the ridiculous part of it is they need Brad for coaching, because almost every single one of them, they speak in Upspeak, because the lady starts off by saying, hello? Once again.
Yeah. And they probably believe that Upspeak is the way to. And Brad, you do a great job explaining what Upspeak is. Can you tell people that don't know?
Well, essentially, if you ask a question, I say, John, how are you this morning? You end up. And when you make a statement, you say, John, I bet you're doing fine this morning. And I give the example of
if somebody said that to their wife, you use that one all the time. If you know who uses Upspeak constantly, Brad, is one of your favorite people to quote, which is Gary Vee. And Gary Vee will talk like this. And I think we're at an important moment. And what people don't understand is attention is currency. And like the example that you use every time, Brad, of if you say something to your wife of like, I love you, it might sound like it's a question rather than a statement.
Right. And it's and interestingly enough, it's predominantly in women. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I've heard people who are much smarter than me, people like John Combest who are much smarter than me, I've heard them talk about this, is the 2 things that young women are doing is Upspeak and the vocal fry thing, which is...
Oh, I thought you were going to say an OnlyFans.
No.
You know who asks questions and raises their voice at the end of a sentence probably is the subject of story number 2, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
The Missouri Division of Cannabis Regulation, speaking of female leaders, is directed by a woman named Amy Moore. That's a stretch of a segue to get us off story number 1, Brad. But they have released a draft of cannabis rules. As you and I have decried frequently, the 113 billion page addition to the Missouri Constitution that is cannabis and recreational cannabis, adult use cannabis, is somehow both very lengthy and very non-specific. For the first time, Brad, the Division of Cannabis Regulation is actually setting forth new rules that the public can comment on. I do believe this is the first opportunity people have had to comment on the license section. And if you'll recall, we've mentioned this many times on the show, many stories about the fact that there have been front companies that claim to have a minority owner. And for the right price, you can have someone come to you, take over control of your cannabis business. And if you happen to have dark skin or, I don't know, probably claim to be of some ethnicity, then some good white guys will come in, run your business for you, and, toss you a little cash for having a minority owner. So what the Division of Cannabis Regulation is doing is setting forth some what seem to be clear-cut rules, which are like, hey, if you're in Missouri and we yank your license for fraud, you can't come back and start another cannabis company and get a license from us. You can't be a minority owner, a literal minority owner. You can't be a majority owner. Once you have your license yanked, you just can't come back and apply again. So these statements are these are open for public comment, and it closes on the 21st, which I think is next. I believe that's next Thursday, I guess. Yeah, I guess it'd be next Thursday. And so folks can go in and comment on these rules, Brad. And a lot of people like you and me seem to have comments about this. Most of us will just continue to kvetch publicly and not leave comments. But this seems like finally some progress on cracking down on these front companies.
You know what, John? Can I ask you a name? And I won't delay the number one, but I'll just ask you a name. Do you know who David Barklage is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know who David Barklage is?
Yep.
You do?
Of course I do.
Okay. We need to talk about him.
Yeah, I just said it. Of course I do.
Well, it was brief. I didn't hear you. We need to talk about him in B and C block because this dovetails nicely into what you just talked about. Okay?
Fantastic.
The number one.
Brad, I have a mea culpa. You were correct about something that we discussed yesterday. We talked about the 4-day school week. And we know how you feel. It's a well-worn thread from you about how nobody works hard anymore and nobody wants to work a full day. You said, Brad, aren't like 25% or a third of schools to a 4-day school week? And I said, no, it's not even close to that. It turns out, Brad, that you were correct. There's roughly 1/3 of schools, if you look at the sheer number, not the number of students served by the school district, but the sheer number of school districts in the state, roughly 1/3 of them have moved to 4-day school weeks. This is of note today, Brad, because any day we expect to get a court ruling on whether or not school districts have to go get public approval before they move to 4-day school districts. Now, or a 4-day school week, excuse me. Now, one of the reasons why this is so controversial is because the independent school district in the Kansas City area moved to a 4-day school week, and thanks to the state law passed by the legislature, they have to go back to voters now, as do every district that went for a 4-day school week. And if they are of a certain size, or they're located in a city of a certain size, they have to get a public vote on whether or not they can keep their 4-day school week. Now, Brad, the question you're going to ask, because you were trained well by Dr. Camille Winter, we got that reference out of the way, is that you say, John, what size of the city does it have to be? If a city has more than 30,000 people, then the voting entity, like the area, has to vote on whether the school district should have a 4-day school week or not. As you can imagine, Brad, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I kind of buried the lead here. The story that I would point people to is brought to us by the Springfield News Leader, which did a really good job in this. There is a tiny school district called the Diamond School District. It's in Newton County, and it includes a sliver of the city of Joplin. But because the city of Joplin is more than 30,000 people, has a population of greater than 30,000, Joplin gets to vote on whether or not people would, in the Diamond School District, would go 4 days a week. So this is confusing even as I read the story, Brad. But the gentleman who brought the lawsuit forward says, quote, Diamond now has to take its 4-day school week to the people for a vote only because a small sliver of Diamond is within the city limits of Joplin. So we're going to get a ruling on this soon, Brad. Now, regardless of how you feel about 4-day school weeks, I think they're fine. You obviously aren't going to like them. I think they're fine if districts want to move to that. But clearly the law was not written with much rhyme or reason, because it seems like it's ridiculous that if Diamond has a sliver in Joplin, that suddenly they got to go to a public vote for it.
John, I don't have a problem with this. I really don't.
And why is that, Brad?
Well, the problem I have is that the teachers and the administrators should have taken a 20% pay cut because of the fact.
Oh, that's right, because they're working 20% less time, right?
They're working, 5 days a week would be 100% of their pay. If they miss one day, that's 20%. So 20% pay cut. Administrators.
Has anybody, do you think, ever done a study of which professions have the most millionaires?
It's teachers.
Is it really?
Dave Ramsey. The number 3, Dave Ramsey.
Did somebody really do a study of that?
John, you make fun of me all the time on that. I mean, the crazy thing about that is I know, and see, anecdotally, I know several teachers who you'd think they're down there to the last dollar. They're millionaires. They're millionaires. Because, and the interesting part of it is, don't get me going on this, because there's a whole interesting part of this. And matter of fact, there's something that I originally put for my top 3 next break, but maybe we'll do it in a C block, about the pensions for the teachers. And Ohio is and Missouri as well, too, not nearly as bad as Ohio and Illinois. But the pension fund is just gone. I mean, it's so screwed up, and because of the fact that, once again, you give these people these incredible pensions, and there's no way in hell they're going to be funded properly. That's why corporate America got out of the pension business, quite honestly, because, if you want to know the truth about the how everybody went to 401ks, the big companies essentially said, we don't want to be responsible for this anymore. We're just going to give it to the employees, and if they're screwed up, not our problem. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they should all just fund a pickleball retirement thing for teachers, right, Brad? Yes. They could just start an open bar tab at Harpo's, and all your retired teacher friends can just go play pickleball and then go to Harpo's.
John, take your headphones off for a minute, okay?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Okay, that's for Kris Cook one more
You
time.
think we could replace Dorothy with that, Brad? Do you think we could just mercifully swap out the tired thing with the new thing?
What, and get rid of Dorothy?
Yeah.
Do you know, I was out last night, and I was at a restaurant, and a lady said to me, hey, you want to have dinner with me? And I said, sure. And I go, why would you want a dinner with me? And she looked at me, hey, take your headphones off, John. And she said,
what would you do with a brain if you had one?
And I thought to myself, wow, she likes me for my looks. I guess that's what it is, not my brain, right? Okay, we have to take a break.